usually do these videos to rant about pens, and I'm not going to start today, but I am going to talk about a pen that I'm really dissatisfied with. This is a Delta Serena. I bought the broad nib. I was told that it would have a really wet flow. Well, it does not. I consider it a very dry, stingy flow. I mean, it's writes, but it's not perfect. So let's start with what I do like, and I'll get to the writing here. What I do like, I like the fact that it's a screw cap. That's just nice. I really like this finish. I got the red. There's also a blue and a black, and I think some kind of an olive green. I don't know. But I like this red. Some people have raved about this little wheel on the clip. To me, it's just, it's a wheel. I haven't noticed it makes any difference when I put it in my shirt compared to my other pens. It has a little doohickey on the end, and supposedly it's a titanium finish. I do kind of like that. Titanium, gunmetal, something like that. When you go to clean the pen, I wasn't able to pull the nib and feed out, and I learned on another pen, if it doesn't want to come, probably better not to. That other pen was a lot cheaper, thank goodness. Inside there's a converter, and that's okay. I noticed a little crack on the barrel here, but nothing too bad. One thing I will say about the converter, I don't really feel need to just show, well, tell you what, I can put a close-up in. But Brian Goulet analyzes this in depth on his website. But there's a little piece just cut off the top of this converter here compared to converters in other brands of pen, or indeed apparently in other Delta models. It's just too short. You can't fit a regular converter inside this barrel. So I don't know why the engineers didn't notice that when they designed the pen and say, hey, let's just give it another 1/8 of an inch. But nope. So whatever. If I ever have to replace this converter, I'm going to have to buy a special, or I'm going to have to cut off the top of the converter. There's a little scroll work on the nib, which looks good until you dip it in ink. And then it all holds ink, and it's really hard to wipe off, and I just don't really care for the look. And I'll tell you something else I don't care for. When I got this pen, it wasn't as bad as the TWSBI I complained about, but it had problems with skipping, hard starts, and so on. Now, I've done the ammonia flushing same as I did with the TWSBI. It made it better, but it's still not that great. The biggest complaint is it's dry. You know, I've always heard this is a very wet pen, and I bought it specifically because I heard it was a wet pen, so I wanted to use it with certain inks that just look good with a really wet flow. Oh, it's not. And the other thing I don't like, it's a metal grip, which I knew. I don't like metal grips. This one doesn't make me love metal grips. You know, it's not a slick, smooth metal grip, but it feels slimy, like somebody put oil on it. I don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. This is a pen honestly, if I can be sure it's working decently, because that is important to me. If I can be sure it's working decently, I'm giving this pen away. That's all there is to it. It's just a letdown. It doesn't make me want to try any of the other Delta offerings. I'll do a writing sample, and you'll see. I'm underwhelmed. I can't even build up any enthusiasm. Alright, so as far as size, it's a little bit smaller. It's probably about the size, actually, of the resin model, but I don't have one handy. But I'd say almost a 1/2 inch shorter than the Conrad when they're capped. Uncapped, about a 1/2 inch shorter than the Conrad. Posted, and it does post. It's actually probably a 1/4 inch longer than the Conrad. But again, underwhelming. The best thing about it is the nice finish, but I can't recommend it. Until I bought this pen, there was actually another Delta model I really wanted to buy, and now I just can't build up any enthusiasm for it. Would you believe that was a pickup with that loud engine that just drove by? Holy cow. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever buy another Delta pen. You know, I shouldn't let just one pen turn me off. But there's so many pens out there that'd be fun to try that I think it'll be a while before I come back to the Delta world. So, that said, let's do a writing sample. Now what I've done here, to show you the converter, I had to have an empty pen, and then I refilled it for the sample. Now this here is all written right after I filled it. And then I went off, I pressed stop, and did some writing on my own. Now I don't know, well actually I'm looking at this on my computer. I don't think
The difference is really showing up. But a lot less ink is flowing now that I've actually written with it. You know, and the reason is when you first write with your, or when you first fill up the pen, of course, the fins here are all full of ink, the feed and so on. And as you, oh, that's nice. This has actually not been one of my concerns where it would just stop writing, so that's new to me. But in general, it's been writing for me. It's just so stingy. When I always heard this pen described as very wet. So I don't know what that means. Maybe I just got a bad one. I will say when I first got it, I think I mentioned this in the review, I had to clean the feed out several times with ammonia and water. It just was horrible. Okay, so let's do our quote. One of these days I'll have to try a new quote. But anyway, just so you get a flavor of its writing. It's a nice, whoops, it's a nice fat line. It's just not as wet as I thought it would be. So anyway, fairly smooth writer, you know, nothing to rave about. Gripping it isn't bad. I just don't like metal grips a whole lot. I think the best thing about it is the finish. Other than that, it really doesn't give me any particular desire to buy a new Delta pen ever again. So, and I'll just mention this before I press pause here. Right here on the, now I just filled this of course, but right here on the nib has all that nifty scroll work. Well, I'll tell you what that does. When you fill the pen, that's kind of difficult to clean out then when you wipe off your pen. And that also makes it so that your pen is, you know, when you have nib creep, it just kind of creeps into that scroll work and dries in there, and you just can't make it look clean. And when you do wipe it off, if you use the wrong cloth, your cloth will shred right on it. So anyway, lackluster pen. It's okay, nothing special. I'm going to have to review an exciting one because that's 2 reviews of lackluster pens in a row. So next, I don't know what I'm reviewing next, but I'm going to pick one of the ones I enjoy. So we'll talk to you later.